Good evening, people. You're all tuned in to another episode of Daily Grizz. Don't ever accuse me of not grinding. This is some grind I'm doing for you guys on a daily basis. But it's all worth it. It's all worth it because we love chatting football. And I love chatting football with real football people. And alongside me today is my fellow real football guy, Matisse from the Big Six and many other platforms. Matisse, you're very welcome.
It's good to be back. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm glad I've been given the real football man tag now. I'm going to hold that one.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. 100%. 100. Not many Chelsea fans in this universe have that tag. Let me tell you that. So you're a privileged bunch. People, as you're coming into the stream, do all of that good stuff, that free stuff. Like the stream. Don't forget to subscribe to Matisse. His description is all in the chat, in the link. His link is all in the description below. So make sure you're subscribing to all his socials as well. And just keep rolling in and keep asking putting your comments and questions in, because we're going to have a nice little chat around all stuff Premier League. Of course, we've got Matisse, so we're going to be focusing a little bit more on the Chelsea side of things. But we have to start off with one place and one place only, because predominantly I'm a Liverpool channel. Predominantly, I'm a Liverpool fan. And Matisse, today's the day where it's finally dawned upon us, because we knew anyway. Everyone knew Sadio Mane's time at Liverpool was going to be up. But today it's become official that we have accepted a bid from Bayern Munich for Sadio Mane. I just want to get your opinion on what you've thought about the player and his time at Premier League from an opposition rival point of view, please, if you may.
Unbelievable, really. You know, outside of the last, even the last 6 months, he obviously recovered from the 12 months prior, where he would have gone through some indifferent form. Left wing, maybe as he got older, was starting to lose that acceleration or that dynamism and needed to be moved into the central position. But the fact that he was able to go from playing on the right wing at Liverpool when he first joined, obviously joining from Southampton, where he was doing very well, goes to the left wing, and then he goes up front. I like players that are able to adapt. I think too often now in football, there are these wingers and these forward players that can only play in one certain zone. They can only play on one flank. They can only play against one type of opposition. They need this, they need that. Sadio Mane does it on all different positions. He does it on all different types of defensive setup. And that's what you got to love about the player. And again, it's the consistency. For the player to... Some people who say he's in Mohamed Salah's shadow, but he's had countless big moments. Do you know what I'm saying? And for me, you know, this is the type of forward that everybody needs. Is one that's going to not only get you the goals, selfless, he's going to get you the assists, but he's also going to work hard as well. It's modern day football. So unbelievable. And I think it's a massive loss. I didn't see this coming, to be honest. When you first started to talk about it on the Big Six, you were saying that, you know, he could be going. I was like, where is this coming from? Because the way I see it, I just say every single forward at Liverpool, you should be staying there as long as possible, because you're in a system that suits you. You're playing, you're scoring goals. Where are you really going? But I guess he needs a new challenge. He was obviously in Germany prior to being at Southampton, so he just wants to go back and maybe get, you know, some different trophies under his belt, because he's won everything. So credit to him.
You know what? You make some good points. And look, at the end of the day, 6 years playing at one club in the modern day and era, Matisse, is quite a lot if we analyze it, if we deep it. So I get the notion that sort of, you know, he shouldn't have gone anywhere else. And a lot of Liverpool fans saying he should have ended his career. But these guys are human beings at the end of the day, with families and friends, and they have aspirations and dreams. And yes, he may have had his most successful time here, but people like change. Like, look at us, look at me, look at us, look at everyday people. We like change in our lives. We don't stay in one house or one job or we have different ambitions, you know, and you can't begrudge him, man. Matisse, today, I don't get emotional when sort of players come and go. I'm not one of these guys that gets really down and out and stuck on players, but this guy, like, and you know, you touched upon, this guy is the ultimate low maintenance, at the same time, legendary player. Because you can get legendary and iconic players, but they're very high maintenance. They want this, they want that, mood swings, you know, unhappy, making noise on social media, subplots through via the Instagram post or agent or whatever. This guy smiling, coming into training, all the videos that we see, obviously you won't see, but you know, like the inside training
Behind
videos
the scenes,
and all that. Yeah, behind the scenes. This guy, in terms of his charity work, this guy's just your ideal, ideal modern day footballer. And you know what? It's so difficult to get these kind of players in your club these days. It's really, really a sad day. When he first signed, Matisse, there was a lot of eyebrows raised because we bought him from Southampton. Do you remember those days, like when we were buying from Southampton? 30 million from Southampton. Can you recall what your opinion was of him, or what did you think? 30 million steep? Because it was potential at that stage. It's like, he's good, but okay, you're coming to Liverpool now, dog.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when he signed, because you guys were still going through that transitional phase where you were trying to get yourselves back amongst the big boys, because obviously you'd fallen out for a while and you'd been a bit up and down, and you'd had some really poor recruitment. If I'm honest, you'd sign a big cluster of British players, English players, your Stuart Downings, your Andy Carrolls, your Paul Conche. Like it was just way too overdone. Maybe I think it was under Kenny Dalglish. I'm not sure. So it was quite a poor bit of recruitment that was done. However, when this guy signed, I thought very, very good player, very good player. And I thought to myself, technically, you could see he's going to go up another level. He's scored goals at Southampton. He's got Premier League experience. He looks like he's driven to go to the next level. But did I think he would play at this level? No. I didn't think he would go and do what he's done. I thought he would be a good, player to get you back into that top four. And then you might need to go again and get now like another elite level winger, like someone that's going to make your jaw drop, like an Eden Hazard was for us. Maybe like a Coutinho was when he was at Liverpool, like that level of just sometimes the jaw is dropping. I wasn't getting that vibe from Mane. I got efficient, hard working, but I didn't get jaw drop. I didn't get that. But wow, he's completely exceeded my expectations, probably everybody's expectations. If you had said that you're going to pay 30 million for a player to be at your club for 6 years, then you're going to make what, a 5 million profit?
How we do it? It's how we do it.
It's not bad. It's not bad.
This is why we're going to go on to your owner and later on in the show, and where he talks about he wants to be run like Liverpool, like in terms of business strategy wise. But we'll get on to that. Jamie sends in the first super chat of the night. He says Mane did a lot of things for the collective at LFC where he wasn't going to be the main guy, and it's hard to play that role for years. Thank you, Mane. He makes a very good point. The ultimate sacrificial lamb in so many ways, Matisse. Like, as you said, he comes in and on his debut scores that magnificent goal for Arsenal where he collects the ball at the halfway line, just runs with it and just ends up cutting inside and banging into the top corner. And that first scene Liverpool fans talk about, where there's a famous one of the more popular Liverpool journalists, James Pearce, and he tweeted at the time, Mane is riding on Klopp's back, scenes, right? And that was when he celebrated the goal, because Klopp ran to the pitch and Mane jumped on his back. And that was when we knew this is going to be some love story. This is going to be something special. You're right. Not many people had expectations of the status that he's brought himself upon and the levels he's reached. But I genuinely thought he's going to be a wonderful player. But, it's interesting that you spoke about the price. Got it up here. Paul Joyce, again, the most reliable Liverpool journalist, broke the news and says Liverpool and Bayern reach agreement on Sadio Mane deal, guaranteed of 27.5 million and then 5 million based on appearances and 2.6 million based on individual and team achievements. The total package is worth 35 million. In this day and age, Matisse, I guess that's a bargain, but with 1 year left and him being 31, I believe now, it's difficult to suggest that we could have squeezed much more out of them, given all the situations. And I know Liverpool fans love bringing up the Eden Hazard example of a few years ago, but it's difficult, isn't it? Once a player's made up his mind as well, and he's down to his last year, I think, like the way you've said it, 30 million we bought him for, won everything there is to win, got blood, sweat, tears off him, and we still end up making him 5 million profit on him.
I think as well, you seem to have a decent relationship with Bayern. You obviously got Thiago at good price. Yeah. So it's kind of like a return of the favor, you know, to charge Bayern something like 60, 70 would have been a little bit mad considering what you got Thiago for as well. So it seems to be like that little, you know, relationship building potentially, like, you know, we gave you one, now come on, do us a favor. And I think obviously Hazard is a massive contrast. That's a player where we got ridiculous amount of money for, you know, we should never have really been able to get that amount of money. But it was a different kind of deal. It was a Galactico kind of dressed up for Real Madrid.
Yeah, they do shit like that, don't they? They do shit like that.
Yeah, they do things like that. And I think their need for a Galactico was great because obviously Bale was starting to fizzle out and whatnot. I think for Bayern, this is a player where as well, you know, he's done so much for your club. There's certain players you just want to see them happy. You don't really want to push your luck too much and take the piss, because we've got Azpilicueta, for instance, and I keep saying it, if he wants to go to Barcelona, we should be letting him go, because he's done too much for the club to then start having him unhappy or not actually paying any respect to his wishes. It's the same with Petr Cech. We let him go to Arsenal. Cesc Fabregas mid-season went to Monaco. You know, Giroud, AC Milan. There's certain players that they're professionals. They've done great things for your club. They've been, you know, absolute incredible ambassadors the whole time. No issues. You have to give back. Too often we see football clubs, they treat players like property. They price them out of the market. They don't take any of their situations into context or into consideration, and then they complain when the player shoves it back in their face. It's a two-way street. So if a player shows you respect for 6 years, you need to show some respect back. And I think you don't want to drag this on, you know, not let him have this preseason and things like that. You've already got your replacement as well, and I think that's key. The fact that you signed your player in Nunez before he's gone, then you're sorted.
I think you make a very key point in terms of you show the player respect back, the effort and time he spent with you guys, and we didn't want this lingering into preseason, and then all the stories start like, is he training with us? And then you start getting people that start reading body language. Does he want to really be there at the training camp? This and that. I think swift conclusion. We've got pretty much what we were expected to get, maybe 5-6 million below what we valued him at. But then again, as you said, they done a favor for us in terms of Thiago. But look, for the people that are in here, for the Sadio Mane, for the chat, we're going to do the RedFellas podcast on Sunday. Is going to be a special tribute to Sadio Mane, so make sure you're tuned in for that. But yeah, man, I thought we have to start on that and it's always good to get an outside perspective of someone who sees him as a rival, as a competitor, as opposed to someone, you know, we love and adore him. But what other people think of him, and you know, you've been honest in your appraisal of him. But yeah, with regards to Liverpool fans, man, I share your sadness, man. Like the timelines of Liverpool fans today has been like, but you know, I'd rather celebrate his time, guys. You know, one of those ones, just celebrate the guy that we had, man. It is what it is, and you know, we have to move on, and we shall move on. But moving on to Batiste, man, what is this club doing? I want to talk to you about, first and foremost, like, I don't know how to put it. Our rivals? No. Your rivals?
Not your rival, my rival, not yours.
That's what I'm saying. So are we talking about your rivals in the up and coming season? Because they're making a few moves in the market. So we know who do we know they signed already? No, they haven't signed already. This is their first major signing, isn't it? But we know they're on the verge of signing others as well. Fabio Vieira, someone we spoke about in the Big Six, actually. I can't remember, one of the super chats or something asked about him. And I said he's a very good player, very neat, got a great eye for a pass, very Odegaard-esque, which surprised me because they already got Odegaard, if you know what I mean.
They've signed Marquinhos, I think. I don't know if that's official.
Marquinhos, this young striker, young left winger from Sao Paulo, but he's apparently just a squad or maybe to sit down on loan. But this guy is definitely not, because David Ornstein says that the fee's 35 million plus 5 million, 5-year deal. 22-year-old was voted one of the best players at the under 23 tournament, Euro under 23. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but very highly thought of. Arsenal are making moves nice and early, because I also understand and I also believe they're on the verge of signing Jesus and the other name,
Martinez
Tielemans.
And Martinez as well from Ajax.
And Martinez has come today as well. Yeah. So what you saying, like business wise, look, we know they have to, right?
Yeah.
But none of these signings to me so far suggest it's what they really needed. Or am I wrong? The better players that you have, the more players you have in your squad, the more it helps.
I think this player's obviously got an eye for a pass, which is key. I think he's very accurate and he's very specific in that nature. And I think they do need to be a very if they're going to have Gabriel Jesus up front, he's not the biggest. You're going to need pinpoint passing accuracy into him because he's not a target that you can just hit. You know, he's quite small. He's technical. He's going to get in between the centre backs and whatnot. But you need someone who's going to kind of like the old Arsenal when they used to just completely cover their team with creators. They had creators out wide.
That's what they seem to be doing now.
Yeah, that's what they seem to be doing, isn't it? Santi Cazorla, you know, you got Santi Cazorla, you had Rosicky, you had Flair, you had Ozil, Ramsey, Wilshere. You had just their midfield was just creators that all just rotated and moved around. There was no out and out wingers. There was no pace. There was no P&P. It was just literally just creators everywhere. Now, I think what they're doing is good, and I think that Martinez signing looks like a good sign as well because I think Tierney is injury prone and they need depth over there. It also covers the left side centre back position. Saliba is going to be a big help when he comes in because he's had a great year in Liga. He's actually the one I'm probably the most not excited for, but he's the one that stands out the most to me because he's got such a high ceiling and he signed years ago and I don't know what was going on, but now he's obviously come back. It looks like the loan deal has actually been beneficial to him. But you're right. They're not signing players for me that make them different. It's more of the same, but just, you know, padded. They're more padded up, but they're not signing any leaders in terms of like experienced leaders. And I'm like, okay, now the profile and the age profile of your team is starting to move towards now. We need business to be done now. There's a lot of players that are coming in that are going to take time to settle. They're quite young. They're going to have teething problems. But where is the experience? Where's the leaders that are coming in? Where's the experienced attacker that is like, you know, that this is a different... They were linked with Gnabry. That would have been like a needle mover for me. Do you know what I mean? So they're doing good business, but I don't think it's not something to be afraid of from a Chelsea point of view.
Quite yet.
Unless we don't do anything, you know. I expect us to do things. If we don't do anything, then it's a problem.
Because I'll tell you why. The one that stands out, and we've discussed it as well the other day, didn't we? About the one that stands out and you'd think is, wow, why didn't they go for him? Yves Bissouma. Like, what do we attribute to Arsenal? We attribute to Arsenal is, okay, you'll win the odd game here and there, but then you'll go and get bullied. You get bullied by, as you said, pace and power, which they haven't addressed yet. Because Fabio Vieira, again, a beautiful touch player, very much in the mold of Odegaard. Maybe I don't know how they're going to play them, but we'll discuss that maybe on another show with some Arsenal people that can explain to how they're going to play Odegaard, Vieira, Smith Rowe, Tielemans in the same midfield, or maybe Smith Rowe is a youngster that's going to be okay. I get that one, but Tielemans again, Matisse. To me, I want to get your opinion. To me, Tielemans is another wonderful technician.
Yeah,
can bang you a goal from outside the box. Not the quickest, not the strongest, but a very technically gifted player. But again, if I'm going to Burnley, not in the Premier League anymore, innit? So where are we going now? Away. If we're going to Crystal Palace away on a Monday night, lights on.
Yeah.
None of these, Fabio Vieira and Tielemans ain't helping me get bullied from Tompkins and them people.
Yeah, exactly. And this is why I personally said, I think I said it on the Big Six, I can't remember. I said it on London Club's Khanage. I think Bissouma, if you're only getting one of Bissouma, they'll say they need both. I agree. But if you're only getting Bissouma or Tielemans, I'm personally going for Bissouma because Bissouma's winning you the ball back. He's press resistant in the first phase. He's picking up the ball off the centre backs, but he's shielding your defence. And how many times we hear about the imbalance for the Arsenal midfield when Partey's not there? There's nobody to shield the defence next to Xhaka. Xhaka's not a holding midfielder. Lokonga's not a holding midfielder. El Neni is, but he's not good enough. He's a squad player, right? He's a utility player. So Bissouma there anchors the midfield properly. And then you've already got your Odegaards that are expressing themselves. Maybe they drop into the 8. You've got your Vieiras. I don't know where he's going to play, but he's another creative midfielder. Your Smith Rose can kick on. But this is just more attack-minded midfielders, yes, they can say that they need it, but they definitely need a holder because Partey's injury-prone. They need a holding midfielder. It's like Manchester United getting Eriksen when you've got Bruno. I'm not saying it's not good for you, but you need a holding midfielder. You absolutely need one because you can't tell me that you're going to rely upon Partey, and then when Partey gets injured in a very clustered season with a World Cup, and these players are all pulling up, and there's just so many games being played, and then you're like, oh, if Partey hadn't got injured, then we would have been fine. But you need to prepare for Partey's injury at this point. That's what you should be doing. So, again, I just go back to the leadership standpoint. These type of games away from home, you need leaders, you need experienced players, and none of these players that are coming in are yet to add to that. It's more young players, and it's the young leading the young. It's like the blind leading the blind, and then expecting different results. You know what I'm saying? So I think they're not done, so maybe they will bring in a leader. But someone said earlier, Xhaka's a leader. I disagree. I don't think Xhaka's a good enough leader.
Well, he may be a leader, but it's like you can have good leaders and bad leaders, right? You can have leaders like, well, we don't want to get into the politics.
Donald Trump.
Oh, politics. Okay, you got into the word politics. Okay. So Donald Trump is a leader, right? Boris is a leader, right? Technically, yeah, they're leaders, right? So it doesn't necessarily mean they're good leaders, but yeah, do you know what? But you're spot on about in terms of the leadership and the age group as well, because Vieira's 22, Tielemans is not old, but the player that obviously Martin, what is it? Lisandro Martinez.
Lisandro Martinez from Ajax, yeah,
exactly, left-sided centre back.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how old he is. If someone can tell me how old he is.
I'll find out now.
Yeah.
Someone said he's 5'8" though. He's very short.
So there you go. If that's the case, Matisse, this is exactly what we're harping on about. Unless he's exclusively a left back more than he's a left-sided centre back, then it makes sense because we know that Tavares is a car crash.
Yeah.
Nuno Tavares, I don't care what any Arsenal fan tells me, Nuno Tavares is not worthy of being a left back if you've got any aspirations of breaking into the top four. Tierney, as you said, I think, I'm sure you agree, is absolute quality, but injury prone. So if people are telling me Martinez is a centre back. If he's a centre back and if he's 5'8",
5'9" he is, and he's 24, so he's a good player.
Doesn't help. But that doesn't help. That doesn't help.
Yeah, it doesn't help because Gabriel's there. So I think he can play left back, but
so it's another confusing one to me. I don't know. That's a confusing one. What I'm thinking then is that's another confusing one. The one I do like though, Matisse, and you have a vested interest in it because apparently you guys were interested in him as well, is Gabriel Jesus. Now, I'm a fan.
Yep, same.
He's coming from a club that's used to winning as well, so he'll have that not leadership quality, but I do see brilliant professional traits in him because he's coming from a Pep team, and how can you not be on it if you've been playing under Pep and winning stuff, right? So I get him from that angle. I think that will be probably, in my opinion, probably their best signing so far. What's your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I think Gabriel Jesus is a very good player. It's a player that I would have taken at Chelsea because I feel like there's another gear to go. When I look at him at 25 years old, you look at his statistics, you say, okay, he's missing so many big chances. He's not prolific enough, but I don't feel like he's peaked. And if you can sense that there's another gear to go, then it's whether you can get that out of the player. And I look at the player fundamentally, he's technical. He's able to pick up the ball in the channels. He's able to pick up the ball in the half spaces. I think he played 15 times out on the wing last season on the right flank. He created loads of chances, loads of cutbacks. Yep. So he's not just this stationary striker who you have to rely upon for goals. You can also have him and say he's going to contribute to goals. And if he gets, 12 to 15 goals in all comps, that's a contribution. I'm not saying that it's enough. Obviously, you need others to help, but it's a contribution. And you then take notice of the fact that you expect Martinelli to get more goals next season. You expect Saka to get maybe more goals again. And those other players as well, because they're still developing. I think he fits into what they're trying to do quite well. And yeah, I think he's a very good player. I think he's a very, very good player. And I think it makes sense because I feel like he's got a point to prove. He's not done so much. Yeah, he's won titles, but he hasn't been such massive parts of those titles that his motivation can drop, or he hasn't got the enthusiasm to show people that he can actually take on the responsibility to lead a line and to lead a big club into their next, their next period of whatever their ambitions are, Champions League football. He has to take that responsibility and lead them there if he's going to play up front for them. So he's interchangeable. I think he's a very good player, to be honest.
I like him as well, and I agree with you. He'd be wonderful at you. That's why I was happy that you're not going to get him, because obviously you can imagine him doing far more at your club than he would probably at Arsenal, where it's still in the process of a rebuild, I guess. But someone's asked a question, and what do you think about this one? This is someone they need. I'd like, if I was an Arsenal fan and you could get Gini on a free. Well, I don't know if he's on a free, actually. He wouldn't be on a free.
He can't be, surely.
No, he can't be. No, he can't be on a free. But he's definitely available for a loan. And then to make it permanent. You're talking about leaders. You're talking about professionalism. I don't know, man. I still think he would do a very good job at somewhere like an Arsenal. Gini Wijnaldum.
Yeah, especially if they need two players. And I do think they need two midfielders. And say money-wise, you can get a Tielemans, but then you can't afford to pay out for another player in midfield, and you need a stopgap. You need somebody to take you to the next summer financial year-wise. You need somebody who can come in and do a job right now, experienced. Then he's somebody with the right profile that's going to be a little bit more robust in that midfield, a little bit more PMP based. I do wonder what's gone wrong at PSG, because when he went there, I thought that actually makes sense. Like that's good balance for their midfield. You've got technical players like Verratti. Now you need to balance it out and not just go with just constant, liabilities off the ball like Messi and Neymar. You need to have somebody who's going to cover their tracks, and he will do that. So I'm quite surprised it hasn't worked out. But it depends I don't know what his level is fitness-wise and, confidence-wise and all these things. It's obviously important to take into account. But if he plays anything like he played at Liverpool, then it's a very good deal.
Do you know what it is with Gini, right? And Liverpool fans were split, but I was one of the ones that was very okay with it. And I hate to say I told you so, because Gini again was one of the legends of the group that made us win the Champions League and the Premier League, etc., etc. But Gini Wijnaldum was one of those players that you could tell he's got a lot of mileage in his legs, and he relied on him covering a lot of ground. One of his main attributes was covering ground. I don't want to disrespect him and say that was his only attribute before people come for me. He was very good technically, very good short passer, knits things together, very good covering, as you said, of other players as well, and reads the game very well. I just thought it was a good time for him to leave Liverpool. I thought we'd seen his best days. And I don't know exactly, because I didn't follow him much at PSG, but obviously PSG is a circus, isn't it, Matisse? Like either like it's no breeding ground from a young footballer or a footballer that you go into there and it's a dressing room full of Hollywood, stars and egos and prides. And he was one of those guys that shied away from that, wasn't ever involved in that, didn't like that aspect, but maybe he didn't settle. It just shows you what we're speaking about, Mane and Gini, what a job Klopp has done into molding this team spirit that we keep talking about, this mentality monsters. It's so vital. It's not just a thing we keep talking about that, oh, shut up, man. Do your talking on the pitch. These things in the background are hella important, because what we're going to come to is segues brilliantly into Chelsea and your club. And again, everyone's going to want to know, what is the situation with Romelu Lukaku? We know we're not going to go over what happened. We know he was record signing, blah, 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 coming to do a job. What's the state of play now with Romelu Lukaku? A, the situation, what you think from the club point of view, and B, your personal point of view.
For me personally, I think it's obviously you got to make moves as quickly as possible, and it's because it's holding up our other business. There's no doubt that when you have a player on £325,000 a week that costs you that much money, and the profile that he is, you can't just afford to let him rot on the bench. I've seen Chelsea fans say, "I'll just throw him in the reserves and let him rot." That's not the way football works. It's not the way business works. We can't afford to do that. We couldn't afford to do that with Roman. We definitely ain't doing that without him. Yes. And it's just not going to happen. So you have to move him out, take your pride aside, and it's going to be a massive cut. I think at the current moment, the issue that's holding up the deal, which is not really a surprise because it's a very complicated deal. This is a player that has signed a 5-year contract at Chelsea on £325,000 a week. So his contract is due to continue to go until 2025. Now, apparently, he's going to take a wage cut. How big that wage cut really will be, we'll have to see. I heard it would drop to around about 180. Inter could only really afford to pay about 121, 122 grand a week. Now, there's obviously a 60k gap.
What was he on? What was he on when he came to you guys?
I'm not sure, you know. Yeah, I'm not sure. It would have been.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah, it would be interesting. I'm sure it was a decent amount. You know, he obviously signed for them for around about 75 million from Manchester United or something. So
yeah,
and Raiola was his agent, I think, as well. So when he signed, so that's going to bring a pretty hefty pay package, probably mid 200s, maybe you'd expect. But we definitely gave him a good increase, and Inter cannot afford to pay that. They were saying that they could only afford to pay around 122. Like I said, he was willing to drop to around about 180. Never seen before where players willing to drop their wage demands in mid-contract, not even mid-contract, 1 year into his duration of his contract. So does that mean he needs to sign?
What's that saying?
It's crazy. But does that mean like he needs to sign a new contract on new terms? Does that mean like, what does that mean? Because I've never seen that before. You know, it's a loan deal. Usually they pay part of it, but like I said, we don't want to pay Lukaku. You know, say 200,000 a week.
Makes no sense
while he's out on loan at Inter Milan, who pay the other 100. So that's not making any sense. So yeah, it's a bit all over the place. But also on top of that, they are very, very, very stingy on the amount of money they want to offer in that loan fee. We would obviously like an obligation as well to buy. We don't want him to come back in 2 years' time and be in our training ground, you know, back in the summer at 33 years old, and now we have another problem with the rest of the 2 years left on his contract. How are we going to shift him? So we want to put an obligation in there, or they need to put a loan fee for the first year and the second year. Apparently he wants a 2-year loan. And then also on top of that as well, we want
2-year loan.
Could be. I think he wants a 2-year loan. I would like to see a 2-year loan plus an obligation, maybe a 10 million loan fee in the first year, 10 million in the second year, and then maybe 10, 15 million obligation to buy in the third year.
Isn't there any other clubs in for him that want to buy him outright? Because look, Lukaku isn't just finished, is he?
No, like, he's not. I wouldn't say he's finished, but
yeah. So there must be other clubs that, even if you have to take a loss, Matisse, like you bought it for 100, if you can sell him for 70, 60, 70, I think you'd snap their hands off.
I'd snap their hands off, but nobody's bidding that.
Nobody's bidding that.
Nobody's bidding for that for him. I think the most you'd probably get up front for him is probably about 40.
Wow.
And also he doesn't want to go anywhere else but Inter Milan. He wants to go back to Inter. This is his whole thing is he wants to go back to Inter Milan. So Bayern Munich, he doesn't want to go there. So it's crazy. It's absolutely insane. And then we're also looking at player swaps to make the deal more appetizing for us. If they're not going to pay the loan fee, are you going to involve Bastoni? Are you even going to involve Skriniar? Are you going to involve Dumfries? And they've said that they don't want to involve any player. And now we're going back to them and saying, well, you're not giving us enough money and you're not offering a player. So what are we doing here? So
this is not making sense from your point of view. From a Chelsea point of view, it's not making any sense.
Yeah, it's not making any sense. Now, apparently green light's been given that the move should happen by the weekend. It's obviously Friday. So next couple of days, apparently this is going to get concluded according to Sky Italy. That's the latest. That's only just dropped about 5 minutes ago. I don't know what the details, I'm going to read the report in a minute. I'm not sure what the details involve. Is there a player? You know, the only player at the moment that looks realistic to even be potentially.
I was going to say, who would you want realistically?
I'd love Bastoni, but
not
happening. I'd also take Skriniar. I think he's a modern day centre back with the old shithousery attributes about him. He reminds me of like an Ivanovic, but can play out from the back. He is quoted to be valued at around 80 million euros by Inter, and PSG will not pay that at the moment. So there's a negotiation going on there. It's why I say that Chelsea are involved in this Chelsea, PSG, Inter Milan triangle. With every player that we want, it's involving either, you know, not even really PSG, say more Inter and Barcelona, that triangle there between us and them, you know, whether it be Dembele, whether it be Koundé, Skriniar, Bastoni, Lukaku, Alonso, Azpilicueta, it's all involved with those three clubs. So I just hope they get it wrapped up, and I hope the terms are not too bad, but we're going to take a massive loss regardless. The most realistic guy in swap is probably Dumfries at the moment, right wing back. And
but it's not something you guys need.
We do need cover, but I would prefer if we're going to get cover, I'd prefer someone that can play both flanks, because then you're covering Chilwell and Reece at the same time, and then you're more likely to play games. It's more of healthy competition. If we're going for Dumfries, he only covers the right-hand side. He's not as good as Reece, so he's just immediately back up. And then still the left-hand side is vacant. Probably becomes Emerson. He's back on loan from Lyon. Not massively sold on him, but that's probably what it'll end up being. So yeah, that's what it is. But Chelsea have too many players. Grizz. Like, if I was to name you the amount of players that we have in each position, you'd be shocked. I can name you 5 left wing backs currently in our squad. Chilwell,
but the balance ain't there, is it?
There's no balance, and there's no quality as well in depth. So you got Chilwell, you got Emerson, Alonso, Ian Matson, Baba Rahman. That's 5. On the right, you've got Sterling, who's just come back from loan, and you've got Aspilicueta and James. Midfield, we've got about 9 midfielders for 2 positions in that pivot, or 8 midfielders for 2 positions in that pivot. It's crazy.
I've been ribbing you since the ownership and everything, and I've been having joke with you off air and on air as well about you're in for a shock when you realize how much work you've got to do. But if the way you broke it down and the way we speak on about it, so we're assuming Lukaku's gone. We know he's gone, right? Because he doesn't want to be there, and you don't want to keep him, right? Lukaku's gone. That's one area that you have to strengthen. Not only for Lukaku, not only to replace Lukaku, but even the others haven't really smashed it for you guys as much as you like. Your weakness is your finishing. You're putting away the chances. So that's a Lukaku replacement you need. Are you hoping, envisaging a Lukaku replacement and another, or realistically you'd be happy with a top quality Lukaku replacement to start proceedings?
I'm thinking of 2 players. Dembele is obviously one, but Barcelona apparently have just been given the go-ahead on some new money coming in, so we'll have to see if he still
as they do, these clubs just magic some money out.
Magic some money up. So
that's it.
Could be a new contract offer for him. Maybe that actually meets his demands. Maybe PSG, I don't know. But we're meant to be getting Dembele, so that would be one winger, and that would add to creativity. There were statistics that our fans were going through, which was fair, that we actually don't create enough chances or enough clear-cut chances, and our finishing is actually not that much worse than others in the grand perspective of where we finished. But we don't create enough. So with the little we create clear-cut wise, they don't take enough of those, and therefore it looks really poor. Whereas if we created more clear-cut opportunities with better creativity, then they would on average take more, and we wouldn't be at such a deficit. I still believe the finishing is poor. Statistics or not, I'm watching this with my eyes, and I've seen, yes, you can say that Timo Werner has not had enough opportunities, but then the season before he missed the same amount of big chances as Mohamed Salah. I know Mohamed Salah was chasing Golden Boot and Timo Werner wasn't. So regardless of whether you give these guys more chances, I'm not putting my hat on them to take those chances anyway. So both situations need to be sorted. I wouldn't go for a direct Lukaku replacement. I think we need to start putting the faith in Kai. Kai Havertz is costing us 75 million up front, I think, for Bayer Leverkusen a couple of years ago. So if you're going to spend that amount of money on a player with a ceiling that you believe is extremely talented, you got to go with it. I trust him. I think he's got a lot of potential. Like the player a lot, can still believe in his abilities to kick on. And I think we got to go down a route where we have him at the centre. Broja comes back from Southampton. He probably stays and is involved. And this is why I like Gabriel Jesus, because he's able to play all across the front. So I think then you get sneaky depth. You have someone that can play out wide. You have someone that can play out front in a 2. I don't think the striker market right now is somewhere where we can say that's the Lukaku replacement. It doesn't exist unless we're bringing in Lewandowski, which we're not, because he wants to go to Barcelona, again, the triangle. Then the only thing to do is to add technical players that can contribute and get goals. I am a massive fan of Felix, but we're not going to get Felix. I would love to take the gamble on Felix if it wasn't too expensive and it wasn't a thing where we were even maybe locked in. But I think he's a player that he needs to escape Atletico. And I think if you put him in a more possession-based team, more touches, more confidence, I still believe that player's got something to give. I saw him at Benfica. He was unbelievable. The only other option then is Sterling and Cuckoo. And Cuckoo's 100 million euros apparently. So then it's just Sterling. And Sterling's finishing is not even a foregone conclusion as well. So
I was going to literally come to Sterling, because that's the talk now, that Sterling wants to leave Man City and they're not prepared to renew his contract as well, or he wants to move on. That would be a loss for them, I think. if Sterling, Gundogan, and possibly Mahrez go in one window, people are sleeping on sort of the significant, and Gabriel Jesus. But we'll have a Man City chat later. I'll hope to bring in Big Steve for that. But Raheem Sterling, I've got hot takes on Raheem Sterling for the last few seasons, man. And nothing's changed for me. In terms of, I've always said, to be labelled elite, you have to be able to strike the ball cleanly and be a good finisher for your position. Again, time and time again, we see Raheem Sterling miss chance after chance after chance. When you're playing in a team like Man City that make a chance literally every attack, your output should be far more than his has been in the last few years, in my humble opinion. I think he's a very good player. I'm not saying Raheem Sterling is shit. People keep saying there's always extremes to opinions. Yeah. No, I'm just thinking I don't put him in that world elite category like some people do. I don't think he'd be good at you. I would love if you got him. Raheem Sterling would cost you 70 million, 60 million, probably.
£300,000 a week, which is my biggest turn off on that one.
You good with that?
Yeah, I'm not good with that. Not 300 grand a week. Not for 60 mil. The thing is with him is that I think if we were playing him right wing and we were asking him to be creating opportunities, you're going to dribble, you're going to get past people, you're going to have cutbacks. His assists, because I was speaking to Lewis from City Extra on this a couple of days ago on my channel, his assists from the right flank is really good. He gets a lot of assists. His goal scoring, if you look at his statistics, it looks good on paper. He's got good goals, good goal contributions every single season. So he always goes to a certain level where it's never a disgrace. Even if he hasn't had an elite season, he still gives you guaranteed output to an extent. But like you said, City create ridiculously clear-cut chances for him. He's that guy that runs in at the back post and taps it in. It's a skill set. It's something that we don't have a lot of. In fact, we saw it for England. Reece James puts a great ball in across the box. Unfortunately, he balloons it over the bar. But he's made a knack of getting in the back post and putting the ball in the back of the net. It is a skill to time your runs there. It's intelligent. But
he's very intelligent. He's very intelligent. His movement is elite. His strength for his size is elite. His dribbling is elite. His finishing and the rest of his play is not elite. I do not count Raheem Sterling as elite. And this is not Liverpool sourness, because it's been years since he's moved on from us. Even for his performances in England. Again, he's a very good chance creator. Very good. He's an elite chance creator. But is that what you guys need? I would have thought you needed someone cold. Shall I tell you who you guys would need? If I was your scout, Matisse, and if you got links to the recruitment team, you need to tell them Grizz Khan said, go and break the bank for Victor Osimhen from Napoli. That's who you want. That will be your modern day Didier Drogba. If I was your scout, that's the one name I would do everything you can to replace Lukaku. Because to me, that's what you lot need. You lot create chances. I didn't know about the stats and that. Yeah. You need someone to tap in.
If Dembele's coming in, we're only going to create more chances.
More chances.
So I don't want us to become this team now that create loads of chances but don't take any, because I'm still going to be just as annoyed as I was when we potentially weren't creating as many as people want us to create, or we're not playing the ball early enough for the Werners and the Lukakus in behind. Saying it on the Big Six all the time, people saying you're not playing the ball early enough, you're not playing the ball early enough. I also think when you look at chances created and people say, oh, well, this is why Lukaku's not scoring enough goals, this is why Werner's not scoring enough goals, you don't play the ball early enough. These players are also very technically limited in their general play in terms of helping us create chances, because they don't want to get involved. You don't see that with Salah. As much as people want to joke and say, oh, he just runs and scores goals, I see Salah play outside the left boot to Mane, it's a goal. I'm seeing Salah go past a couple of people. I'm seeing him at least get involved. Mane get involved. Firmino get involved. So as much as they're scoring, they're also getting involved and helping create. That's why they're getting assists. Whereas Lukaku's not doing that for us. Werner's not really doing that unless you play the ball in behind and he's on the last defensive line and then he can play the ball back across. But in terms of actual passing, if we're up against a low block and I give the ball to Timo Werner in the half space, he's not doing shit with it. He's devoid of all responsibility from that point. He's not doing anything clever with it whatsoever. And we need to go back to players that can actually get involved and be part of the creativity as much as the goal scoring. They could do both.
Have you given up on Timo Werner?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, for me,
Wow.
he's got to be sold. He's too. When I mentioned earlier about players that need specific moments and specific teams and zones, and he needs everything to be going in his. I mean, one of his best performances would have been at the Santiago Bernabeu, but the dimensions of the pitch are bigger, and there's more space because Real Madrid are a little bit more forthcoming and they want to have the ball more, and then there's space in behind. When you're coming up against low blocks now, he's not really of any use. He's not strong. You can't cross the ball into him. He's not gonna out muscle anybody. He's not particularly good dribbler. He can't go past players unless he kicks it past and runs. Reminds me very much of Fernando Torres when he lost all his confidence at Chelsea. He just used to pick up the ball, kick it past someone and try and run around them. Very frustrating. No real skill or able to manipulate the ball or anything particularly technical about him. And he relies on his pace. And then even when he does get into positions, his finishing has been awful. So he just doesn't bring enough, and he can't play up front on his own because he can't hold the ball up. He can't bring others into play. He's not going to do what Firmino does for you. He can't play at left wing because he's not crossing the ball. He's not dribbling. He's not able to do that. He's not going to switch play. Not going to be able to do any of that. So he has to play in this weird little half space, second striker, left channel. But then he can't drop in and be creative, and he has to be running in behind in that area.
Every time. That's his game.
That's his game. And it's no surprise that out of the 10 goals he's scored in the Premier League in 2 years, I think 7 of them have come against Southampton. A team.
Really?
Yes. He
That's
scored.
Mad. That is a mad stat.
Yeah. It's
do you know the drop off from Lukaku and Werner is scary, man. Like, these were the two most sought after strikers, stroke forwards. And the drop-off's mad. Someone's asking for a question. It's a very good question. Anfield Road End says, can you ask Matthias what his opinions on Tammy Abraham? Is there any regrets not keeping him? He's doing bits in Italy. That's one. Does it hurt? Does it bother you? What's going on? What's happening there now?
No, okay. No, it doesn't. I think when he left, I was quite happy for him because I think he needed to go out and develop. He's not the perfect striker either. He's got a lot to develop. If he wanted to be here and be a second choice, or Tuchel wanted to use him as a rotation option, which he didn't, because he had Giroud ahead of him as well. Again, this is why I don't like it when we pay a lot of money for players. It becomes political. You know, Timo Werner and Kall were always going to get the go-ahead ahead of Tammy Abraham, regardless of performances, because of the money's paid, and we need to get the best out of our investment, etc. So Tammy Abraham was always going to be the full guy. So I do think Tuchel was a bit harsh in the fact that he didn't use him ever. But again, politics, you have to play the game. But I'm not really sad about it because Tammy, his heading ability was awful for his height. For 6'5" frame, he couldn't head the ball. Hold up play was good at times, but then at times he didn't really know how to control his frame, and he was a little bit clumsy, fell over a little bit too often sometimes. And his finishing also needed work as well. So he wasn't perfect. He would have been good if he was still developing behind a main striker, an elite striker, but he wants to play games. So for the fact that we weren't using him, he wants to play, be a starter, be important. I have no problem with him going to Italy and doing his thing. The two positions I don't have patience for is goalkeeper and striker, because there's nowhere to hide, and it costs you too many points. I don't mind developing a left back or a left wing back. I don't mind developing a centre midfielder, rotating them in and out, because if you make a mistake in centre midfield, there's 3 or 4 players that can cover you and bail you out. If you're a goalkeeper and you make a mistake, it's a goal. If you miss a chance up front, you've cost your team potentially. So these are 2 positions where I want the best. I need players that are ready to do the business, or they have very, very high ceiling. And I think Tammy, he's doing it great in Serie A right now. He's doing very well under Mourinho, but I'm not looking at him thinking, oh, if we had him, then everything's sorted. I'm not looking at it like that.
What situation with Broker?
He's going to have to stay most likely, because if Lukaku's leaving, then we can't afford to get rid of another striker. I mean, if Lukaku's leaving and Werner's leaving, hopefully, in my opinion, then you have to keep Broja. Because not that he had an outstanding season at Southampton. He's another player that's still developing, loads to learn, isn't the solution. But at this point, you just want players that want to be here as well. You know, I'm kind of tired.
But that's another thing that he will be questioned upon, because the way they've treated him or whatever, or sent him out on loan, he might have got he might have got the love of first team football on a regular basis. He might not want to come back and just be a sub, which it probably will be, depending on what kind of money you guys going to flex now. Because look, that's what I was going to ask you, Matisse. We've only spoke about the forward line, and you're looking at 2 incomings from your personal point of view. But then we go to the back. What's the situation with the back? So we know Christensen's gone. We know Alonso is still here, but
wants to go to Barca.
Wants to go. We know Rudiger's gone. What's the situation with their replacements and names? And what's the situation with, for me, one of the GOATs of the Premier League era, Azpilicueta?
Aspi reportedly wants to go to Barca, but he's not going to kick up a fuss. If we can't allow him to go, he's going to end up staying. I do think he's a bit past it, and that we would do well to let him go now. It's probably the right time, like you said with Mane or Wijnaldum, you said right time. Probably the right time for Aspi, but we're in a position where we've lost so much experience and we haven't brought anybody to replace. He may get caught in a situation where he can't go. We can't afford to let him go. Alonso is no problem because we have no need to keep him whatsoever. We got loads of.
I'm surprised that you guys' opinion on Alonso. No. You guys batter him like mad, but he collects me hella points on FPL. So you're doing me dirty out here. He's one of my first picks every season.
You can have him if you want. You can have him. You give us Timikas and you could take a look. No problem. Yeah, see, I'm telling you, and you got the midfield. It works for you because you got the midfielders to cover him. He can get into advanced areas, score goals for you.
So not a fan.
No, not a fan. Haven't been a fan for years. I think
defensively, attitude, what?
Everything. The only thing I like about him is the fact that he's a bit inevitable. So he's like the villain, but you can't keep him down. And I do respect that. But his attitude is very questionable. He chooses his moments when he wants to have full dedication. If he's going forward, he looks faster than when he's running back for defensive duties. He's very slow, and that costs us in transition. And he's a very poor defender. And I don't think that just because you're a left wing back now, you have to not be able to tackle. You have to be a slouch. You can't now be trusted to tackle in the penalty box and not give away penalties. 1v1, you're getting ripped. He gets ripped 1v1. Any talented technical winger who can do anything in a cage in Brixton is ripping this man. It's true, because he doesn't have the pace, and then he also is not a good tackler. So for me, it's like he's relying upon clutch moments, whether it
bring back Balassi.
Yeah, honestly, he's relying upon like clutch moments, goals, and the goals are very valuable. But what I keep saying is that I don't want to have to rely upon the left wing back for goals. That's not a reason to keep him, because that tells me that the team's built backwards. I want the forwards to score and the left wing back to help create the chances from out wide and cross the ball accurately, which he's inconsistent at, and to knit up the play on the left hand side and to defend properly. I want everybody to do their job. I don't want the left wing back to score goals and the striker Werner is a great presser, great attitude, but it doesn't score, can't finish. And then this issue here, I don't want that. So for me, I'm tired of these players that I feel like are very wishy-washy in their commitment, and he would be one of them for me. He's too up and down, inconsistent.
One centre back that definitely wasn't wishy-washy and was probably your outstanding player of the season, Rudiger. Huge loss, massive loss. How has that happened? And B, who do you replace him? Because Koundé's been linked with you forever and ever and ever. And now suddenly we're hearing Barcelona are coming in for him. So that will be a massive kick in the teeth, because you guys have targeted Koundé for ages. Is that going to get over the line, do you think? If not, who replaces Rudiger, man?
Koundé for me is a mad story. He should have been here a while ago, but I have no idea.
Before COVID, right? It was COVID time, wasn't it, or something? Or around that time.
Last summer he was meant to come, but then we ended up sticking with Trevor, and we couldn't get we couldn't get the fee sorted with Sevilla. This summer he's open to be leaving. Sevilla have already opened the door for him. He has this hamstring injury that he had surgery on after the France game. Apparently both clubs knew about it, so it shouldn't be holding up the deal. I have no idea why we have not agreed a fee. I'm pretty sure the roundabout agreement is meant to be about £55 million. That sounds like a decent deal for me. get it done. I don't understand why. This is the only deal that is not done that I don't understand why. I don't understand why it's not done, because we need a defender. We have room for defenders. We need two defenders, if anything. He's meant to be the Christensen replacement. And then when you talk about Rudiger, for me, the only real personality, leader, experience that you can replace Rudiger with is probably Koulibaly, and he's available at Napoli. Is he exactly like Rudiger? No, I don't know if he can be able to operate down that left in the back three the same way Rudiger did. Although in the back four for Napoli, he does play on the left-hand side of centre-back, so he is used to those zones. It's just when you play in the three at the back, you have much more license to step forward.
That's a shout, though. That's a shout.
It's a shout. I think I would personally want to see the back four more often anyway next season. So I think Koulibaly coming in, partnered next to a Silva, a Koundé, a Trevor, I don't think that's too bad. I think that's decent. And I don't want a situation where we go and get only young defenders like Arsenal have, and then we just have young defenders and we don't have no experienced players who can actually take ownership of situations, be leaders, set examples, teach Colwell. Levi Colwell's coming through from Huddersfield. He's very good, left-footed, similar trajectory to Tomori Gurhi at Palace. But we need experience as well. I need to have balance. I can't have just pure young defenders. It will cost you.
But again, these centre-backs that you've let go, Matisse, Tomori, Gurhi, I hope I pronounced him right.
Poor planning.
These guys, so Tomori's gone, right, on a permanent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The Palace one, is he on loan?
No, he's gone. We have a matching fee clause. So if we match the fee that they accept from another club, we can.
Right. That's not happening.
That's nothing.
So you need two centre-backs.
Mm-hmm.
You need two forwards. Midfielders, what situation? You need midfielders?
Midfielders is the worst position because we do need a DM. We do need a midfielder. Tchouameni went. Kamara went. Basuma's gone, although I don't think he was high up on our list, but it's just another one gone. And then it's only Declan Rice. And this is the third summer I'm talking about Declan Rice. I'm bored. I'm bored of talking about Declan Rice every single summer. When are we going to put in the bid for Declan Rice? Lampard wanted him. Tuchel's first choice target is Declan Rice, but there's no bid. Now, the reason why I don't think there's a bid is because there's no room. Same as last summer, maybe summer before. We have Jorginho, we have Kante, we have Gilmour, we have Ampadu, we have Gallagher, we have Kovacic, we have Mount, we have Ruben Loftus-Cheek. I've probably named you there 9 midfielders, and we don't even play with midfield 3. We play with 2 at the moment. This is why I want to move to a 3, because you can't have all these midfielders, like most of them, which is what Tuchel does. He likes them. He loves some of them, but you're not gonna make that the way you kind of like lean upon your team. We haven't got many centre-backs, but yet we're playing with more centre-backs than midfielders. So just on a numerical standpoint, I don't understand why this is not the perfect time to pivot away from the back three and move to a three-man midfield when you've got so many midfielders. I think Gallagher's better in a 3. He played in a 3 at Palace. Mount's good at dropping into that 8. He's played in a 3 at Vitesse and Derby on his development. Ruben played under a 3 for Sarri. That was his best stint for Chelsea. And then you can go and say to yourself, we still need to get rid of some anyway, but you have more space to work with. But yeah, I think I wouldn't be surprised if we don't get a midfielder, because I like Ampadu, I like Gilmour. I think they've got potential. Gallagher's definitely coming back. There's just too many players. I don't see how you move enough to bring in one.
We inquired for a player when we got told Tchouameni's not going to come to us. We inquired for Ibrahima Sangare from PSV, and his agent told us that Chelsea are in for him as well. So I don't know if you want to tell your people that Chelsea are interested in Ibrahima Sangare as well, because that's why I got the information I was told from my guy, who said we were told that Chelsea are quite strong on him. Again, I don't know if he's going to be suited to your team, suited to your system. Very physical, 6'4" something, physical beast. Those names you rattled off to me, Matisse, I'm not going to lie. The only ones that stand out to me, and I've said it before again and again, is Kante and Kovacic. The rest are good. Yeah, no problem. Okay, you might see the potential of them. They ain't winning you the league, man, in my humble opinion. They ain't winning you the league. But then where do you start your surgery? Because we've just gone through your team, and all 3 positions, like central midfield, attack, and defense, need surgery. That, I don't know, man. I joke with you, but on a serious level, This is a lot of surgery needed. There was a good question that I wanted to end up on.
I would start with the centre backs because you have to get centre backs.
You have to.
You have to get centre backs in. Like from a numerical standpoint, we don't have enough centre backs to do the season. Then I look at wing back depth because I think the wing backs are the players after James and Alonso are not after James and Chilwell are not good enough. We need to have, when Chelsea have their best wing backs or proper wing backs out there who can do what they need to do in the system, we look like a completely different team. So I would look at someone like Kostic at Frankfurt. He's got a year left. Very good player, better than anything we've got behind Chilwell at the moment. And then on the right side, it still remains to be seen who, but we need to look at that position as well after James, or find someone, like I said, who can play both sides. And then, you know, everybody's dream is like a Cancelo, isn't it? Who can play both sides, and then you've got adequate cover for both flanks. And that's what City are going to have with Cucurella coming in. So Cucurella would have been a great guy as well to bring in, but he's probably too expensive to be in competition with Chilwell. And then after that, for me, you've got to look at the forwards as well. Forwards are very important, but some of them got to go. And then I'd probably, for me, you need a DM, but
long
DM,
summer.
Maybe so. DM is very, very important because
it is.
Kante's injury prone, Kova's injury prone. He picks up an injury every year. Jorginho's getting older. They're declining. Like outside of COVID, they're declining. But I don't know. I don't think it can all get done personally. Something's going to get left out.
Look, I didn't want to bring your mood levels down, Matisse. You know what I mean? I somehow think I've managed to do some proper analysis on the Chelsea situation. It seems like a lot of surgery is needed. But listen, it's only week 1 or 2 into the window. Well, we're coming to the week. Yeah, 2 weeks into the window. Plenty of time. You know, things can happen. We just thought we have a catch up. You know what I mean, on the Daily Grizz show. See what's the situation over at Chelsea with your new owners. We said we're going to talk 30-40 minutes, but the way we talk, look at that, it's been an hour and we haven't even noticed it. People, there's over 400 of you loyal ultras in here. Hope you've all smashed a like. Go and check out Matisse on all the socials, doing great work. Great work. Obviously, we're going to be seeing on the Big Six as well this coming season. Go and check out his socials. Go and check out his channel as well. Matisse, really appreciate your time. Hopefully, we catch up. Well, we catch up all the time anyway, but hopefully we catch up on a stream real soon as well, man. Thank you very much for coming on.
Defo, pleasure. And you just reminded me of how much work needs to be done.
Yeah, man, I told you, man. It's not easy, man. There's a lot of work. Long summer. But people, this has been the Daily Grizz show for today. We've just dissected Chelsea's problems. Don't we love it? We out of here. Take care.